Hi again then guys, and welcome to another Forza Horizon 3 speed tune setup, and this time we've got a requested tune build for the 1964 Chevy Impala. I personally love this car. It's got great classic style. Now as far as performance goes, I mentioned this in the review for this car as well incidentally, this is already a really good car for top end speed as far as muscle cars and classics go. So that would indicate that potentially when you tune it, it could be, well, theoretically just as good when you get up into the higher speeds, and to some degree that is the case. It's not the best, but it certainly isn't slow, that's for sure. Now as far as the engine goes, I would of course always recommend having the Aventador V12 whenever you have that as an option, not because I like that engine the most, but purely because it gives you the best numbers to be working with. As far as the drivetrain, again I would recommend all-wheel drive, because quite simply, it gets that power down the most efficiently, and you can launch much better off the line with it. And of course as well, off-roading is improved, which is kind of incidental, but still it's an advantage to have. As far as aspiration, of course you want the twin turbo to get the peak power out of it. For the visuals, like the hood shaker, the rims, that's all down to you. As you can see, I have fitted this one with a roll cage. As I've mentioned before, I would only really recommend that on muscle cars and classics. So I have fitted it to this one. It makes big improvements to the body rigidity, which on a longer car in particular can really help. And then as far as the rest, you guys pretty much know the drill. Lower the weight as much as you reasonably can, increase the power, of course, and fit everything to the car that is essentially race spec. Now this tune is incidentally on my storefront, so you can use the keywords down below if you'd rather just get it straight on the car and not do it yourself. If though you'd rather do it yourself, of course this is the part of the video for you. Now for the benchmark, as I said, it's quick. Not the strongest, but it's certainly up there. 2.2 to 60, 4.4 to 100, 268, or the benchmark at least is 268 flat out. Now as far as the gearbox, I'd recommend a final drive of 3.1. Then for the rest of the ratios, it's pretty simple. 2.9, 2, 1.5, 1.17, 0.95 and 0.78. Then for alignment, you guys pretty much always know the drill now. Neutral camber, neutral toe, unless of course you want to have some. 5 degrees of caster for this particular car. Anti-roll I've got on 33 and 19. Springs on 198, 192, and I've opted for the lowest ride height, which is pretty rare for me with a muscle car. Generally I like to raise them, but this is more of a low rider than a typical muscle car anyway. Dampers we've got on 15, 13, 7 and 6. Aero of course doesn't apply, and for the diff, as I often would, more often than not in fact, 100% on the acceleration side of things, 0 on decel, and a 70% center split. So that's it for the tune. Now let's see what it can actually do. Overall then, the Impala is one of those muscle cars where you pretty much get what you expect to get. It's a good all-rounder. The handling isn't the best of muscle cars, primarily due to the length of the vehicle in particular, but at the same time, that's not necessarily a disadvantage, because what it doesn't have in terms of sheer nimbleness, it more than makes up for with counterbalance for drifting. So any car that's not good for one thing will generally be good for something else instead, and that's kind of the case with the Impala. With that being said, it's not a bad handling car at all, and in a straight line it's excellent, in particular for the lower classes. So if you want to repurpose this tune to a lower class, you can even get similar performance out of it. So if you do decide to use this tune or a variation of it, I hope you have a lot of fun with it, and of course if you did enjoy it, you can check out hundreds more for Forza games by clicking through at the end of this video. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.